Hello love, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jennifer Laurel Keller. I'm an acrylic and mixed media artist and instructor, but what I really do is help people connect to their soul through nature and art. All right, in today's video, I am working on a canvas that has already been started, and I'm just gonna use some fluid golden acrylics. I've got titanium white, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, cadmium yellow medium hue, teal, Payne's gray, cadmium red medium hue, quinacridone magenta, and chromium oxide green. A pretty full palette. And so I'm just deciding which direction I want this canvas to go. I use this for a demo during an open studio, so it's just a mess right now. So I'm just going to paint right over it. And so I'm just working my way around the palette using swatches of color and drips and trying to get a variety of colors and values down on the canvas. Keeping in mind an interesting composition, but I know this is going to change a lot. I like to use a few scribbles and drips and marks to create interest. I do a lot of mixing on the palette, but also quite a bit of mixing on the canvas as well. I don't wash my brush very much. Going for a lot of highlights and shadow colors. And getting some nice texture with lots and lots of drips. So at this point, it's looking really messy, but that's what the whole beginning of the painting process with this technique is all about. You use a lot of techniques. You do a lot of different trial and error type of experimentation. And then at the end, we refine it. So it always looks kind of confusing and messy in the beginning. Now I'm going to bring in some papers for that mixed media look. The collage and acrylic go really well together. And I'm just going to arrange these in a way where they seem like levels of the landscape, and also bringing some interest up into the top half of the sky. So I'm using some medium here, some acrylic gel medium. It's a matte finish, but you could use any finish you want: matte, semi-gloss, gloss, high gloss. Matte seems to do really well. And so I'm just adding a few of these papers to create an unexpected pop of texture and pattern. And I also had this little envelope of confetti that I made in my Skillshare class called Scraptastic. And so I thought I would try and add some confetti to the bottom of the canvas, but I actually didn't like it so much in this case. So I end up painting over quite a bit of that. So now I've dipped back into my palette, and I'm just bringing out more depth into my landscape, adding more contrast in the sky, and we see the hills start to form quite a bit. And I want to have a reflection on some water, so I start working with a few colors here and there to test what I like. First, I work that in with this line, and you can see it's kind of a mirror image. That line creates a reflection, but I end up changing it even more. So it just goes to show how much this process evolves throughout the painting process. Here I'm doing more drips And I let that dry. I used a hair dryer off camera. And now I'm bringing in more warm tones to round out the color palette. I wanted to accentuate the horizon with more yellow and also bring that yellow down into the foreground. There's a beach starting to emerge here. More shadow. And here I work in a little bit of gold. I'm mixing the gold, a metallic gold, in with some greens and yellows and using it to bring out the far side of the beach on the other side of the water. And I added this magenta to some of the ridge lines, but I walked it back a little bit through the painting. Checking my sides, making sure everything is connected in the painting and the side of the canvas. And now I'm working on the sky, bringing out the contrast, making sure it's smooth where I want it to be smooth and interesting where I want it to be interesting, adding some drips. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, some yellow down on the far beach and kind of like a little tree line out there. Covering up some of that confetti. It wasn't my favorite, but I'm glad I tried it. And I like how some of it peeks through very, very subtly. It just adds more interest. Now for some green. Feel like it needs a little something, so I'm holding up some papers. I wanted to calm things down just a bit, so I'm using some blue paper. It was light blue on one side and dark blue on the other. And so I'm using the lighter blue out in the distance and the darker blue in the foreground. And that's on purpose. Things are a little bit more hazy out in the distance. And I actually cover all of that in a class that I did on Skillshare called Layered Landscapes with Mixed Media. So I'm going to leave a little more information about Layered Landscapes, my online Skillshare class, after this video. All right, now I'm just doing some final touches and changes, making the highlights and lowlights kind of bridge together with more midtones so that it seems like the light is caressing these hills and creating more form. And some metallic worked around to just give it a little bit of shine. I love how it catches the light. It's hard to show it on the camera. All right, so I decided that the water wasn't quite right, so I worked in a shadow from the hills so that the hills are more realistically reflected on the water, at least the shadow of them. Working on that side of the canvas again. And let's lighten the sky even more. I turned it upside down to get the drips going up into the sky, and then I'm doing a little bit of finger painting just to get a blend going there. And I like that quite a bit. I like the drips going up in the sky. And I also wanted to lighten where the sky was reflected on the water now that I've lightened the sky up. And that gives a really nice focal point now. So that's working really well. Now it's time to sign the canvas. I have metallic gold and just deciding where the best place is to sign. I think that side's a little bit too busy, so I'm gonna I'm going to sign it on the left-hand side, which is, I don't sign it on the left as much. So with the metallic, when you don't see it reflecting the light, it's very, very subtle. But then you can see here when it catches the light, it pops really well. So I like the metallic for the signature. That's fun. And then you can see it up in the composition as well. So it's tied all around. And I have lovely texture with the papers and the patterns on the papers. I've got some like an old date book there from the 50s, some wrapping paper, some tissue, and then a nice little colorful landscape with some pops of mysterious papers and textures. So if you liked this, I encourage you to subscribe, like, comment. It's so much fun painting with brighter colors. So I'm going to be doing a few more of these. And this one is just from my imagination, but I also like to use a brighter color palette with a scene that I'm painting from a reference. So it's all just, one journey. There's no end point. I'm just trying things out. And as I move through the process and through the series, I'm sure it's going to evolve. So if you like this one, I will have it up in my online shop, and you're welcome to take a closer look on my website. I love the metallic on this one and the texture. It's great. So if you liked this and you want to do something more hands-on with paper and acrylic paint, I'm going to have the information for my Skillshare class right now. So thank you so much for following along, and let's learn more about layered landscapes. Everyone loves a big open vista where you can see for miles. The layers of land and sky open us up to the vast wonders of the world and make our cares and worries melt away. Over the years, I've taught many landscape painting classes, but I love mixed media as well, and I know many of you do too. So in this class, Layered Landscapes with Mixed Media, I want to share a method for creating open, whimsical landscapes with untraditional materials. By including unexpected papers, patterns, and textures, we'll create a sense of wonder and beauty. You'll learn about collage, layering, adding texture, and embellishing your landscapes with thin applications of acrylic paint. But you won't have to paint a landscape from scratch. I'll also discuss how to make a more convincing sense of distance in your landscape by including atmospheric depth and recognizing the characteristics of the background, midground, and foreground. This class is right for you if you're drawn to beautiful papers and want to create magical effects in your landscapes without the need for advanced drawing or painting techniques. With these easy steps, you can let go and create beautiful, colorful landscapes that are as free as your imagination. So if you're interested, I hope to see you in class. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, that's it for today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you over at JenniferLaurelKeller.com. Much love.